used to be that the obvious journey for a book to get onto a screen would be that it would be turned into a movie, right? We had it with Lord of the Rings, with Harry Potter, with Divergent, Hunger Games, Maze Runner, and I loved it, okay? The big moment in cinema, midnight screenings, huge blockbusters, seeing your favorite scenes brought to life. But also, movie adaptations were limited, right, for time. You'd get hundreds of pages in a book, multiple plots and subplots and character beats. It's a lot to fit in, and so the movie adaptation would have to cut a lot. And so sometimes your favorite scenes wouldn't make it into the movie at all. Take the Half-Blood Prince cutting Voldemort's backstory, all those memories from his childhood and him growing up. Some of my favorite scenes from the whole series. And some books did get made into TV shows so that they could give them more time to tell these stories more comprehensively, right? But the problem with TV shows is that they would have had much lower budget. So the trade-off was, movies would have to cut some key parts, but they'd have the budget to do it well and with a great cast. Or TV shows would have the time to give the story a better adaptation, but the visual effects and the cast might not be as top tier. But that's not really the case anymore. TV shows are sort of getting the movie treatment in terms of cast and budgeting these days. And so they're becoming a much better and more popular medium to adapt stories. So now we have the Percy Jackson TV show adaptation. We have a Lord of the Rings TV show. We're getting a Harry Potter TV show adaptation as well. There were talks about an Akatar TV show, but that seems to be a bit dead in the water now. Though it's such a popular book series, I'd be surprised if someone doesn't pick it up somewhere. And so with this new era coming in, I started to wonder, as you can tell from behind me, I like books. So which books would I really like to see adapted into TV shows? So this is one of my absolute favorite book series, right? I got so into these. I read The Mortal Instruments, The Infernal Devices. I tried The Dark Artifices, but that's where I fell off a bit. But I absolutely loved them. The story, the characters, how big the world got, like with the factions and the politics. I think the fact that it started as a Harry Potter fan fiction is not lost on me either. I love these books, right? I think Simon and Izzy are my favorite couple from any series ever. Like, I adore them, both separately as characters and together as a couple. I think the richness of the world, like the way that it grows and grows with each installment, it lends itself perfectly for a TV adaptation. Now, the eagle-eyed viewers among you may notice that these, in fact, did already have not one, but two adaptations. A 2013 movie, which was supposed to kickstart the next Hunger Games franchise, and then when that failed, a 2016 TV show which somehow ran for 3 seasons. And look, the movie wasn't great, okay? I think it had potential. I loved the cast, but they made some terrible, terrible changes. Like, they randomly talked about the composer Bach being a Shadowhunter.
So Bach was a Shadowhunter?
Yes.
Bach is to demons what garlic is to vampires?
Kind of.
Then defeated one of the biggest villains in the first installment with music. But I just sort of put that down to teething problems, okay? But I think the second installment could have ironed those things out. But the TV show, I only made it through like the first season, and even that was a struggle. Like, it just felt really smooth, I don't know, airbrushed. Like, this is a story about lingering supernatural creatures and demon hunters who live in old buildings called the Institute. But they just made it sort of clean and polished, right? The whole vibe just kind of felt off to me. The dialogue was corny. They just dumped a bunch of exposition on you rather than showing you things. And I think in general, right, the writing, the directing, the acting, the VFX, the set, the props, the costumes, they were all just collectively not right. So I think it's high time we give this show the adaptation it deserves. Like, I'm not saying it has to be a billion-dollar TV show like Rings of Power or the Harry Potter show that's coming. I'm just saying it needs a good set of writers who are used to writing for ensemble casts, right? Because that's the beauty of this series. It's characters and their relationships, right? They need to be given care and attention to do it right. And then I think this franchise could be huge. Like, Stranger Things has proven that people love seemingly normal people like Clare being thrust into supernatural situations. And Percy Jackson and Harry Potter are proving that we don't need to age up characters to make it good or interesting. And Rings of Power and House of the Dragon are proving that people want a big group of complex characters going through their own stories and their own developments. Plus, you know, spin-off culture should be chomping at the bit for this. There's a main series, a prequel series, a sequel series, multiple standalone and short stories as well in the same universe. Like, it's so rich in material. I want to see Magnus Bane and Alec in their full story, right? I want to see Simon's full arc from insecure little geek to self-sacrificing vampire. I want the story with Lilith and Sebastian, and all the twists and the plots with the angel and the greater demons. I want the Silent Brothers and the Iron Sisters. I need this show, and I need it done right. Maybe what I need is to reread the books. So superhero movies feel like they kind of had their time, right? Everyone was getting fatigued with them. But this year, the tide seems to be changing and people seem excited about them again, right? With Superman and Fantastic Four. But the TV shows are kind of in their element at the moment. The Boys, Invincible. People are loving superhero shows that have like a slightly different angle. We're not talking the CW angle of the Supergirl or Flash series. Not to hate on them, I never really watched them. But I mean a different way of telling a superhero story. Or a story that's about more than just a superhero saving people from Monster of the Week. The Reckoner series from Brandon Sanderson is exactly that. One day, people start getting superpowers, and then gradually they realize that governments can't stop and control these superpowered people. And so they become these powerful, ruling monsters, right? And regular people are forced into subservient positions. This book series follows a group of underground rebels who want to take down these superhuman dictators despite not having powers themselves. And it is amazing. So it's set in like this futuristic, dystopian version of the US. The first book takes place in New Cargo, which is ruled by Steelheart, an impossibly strong superhero, or epic, which is what they're called in this, who can and does turn everything into steel. And I mean everything. This book had me gripped like nobody's business, right? I flew through it. There are actually 3 books in the series. They're all great, and they allow us to meet different epics, to see different parts of the US in its new dystopian state. At one point, they're living in this like floating area that makes itself in this direction while destroying itself in this direction. So it's just sort of slowly moving, but it's not moving because it's disintegrating and recreating. It's so cool. And the 3 books allow us to follow a small group of characters through their journey with the Reckoners to try and defeat these epics. And it's a much smaller cast of characters than the Mortal Instruments had. But in that, you have these rich, complex, deep connections, incredible character moments, and character arcs that take you in directions that you never see coming. You also have this incredible repertoire of epics with various powers, which, as we've seen from The Boys, is always fun to see on screen. Like, I genuinely describe this as sort of a mix between The Boys meets the Hunger Games. Like superhumans who are corrupted, they make up this impossible to regulate ruling class, and there's a rebellion made up of sort of regular people. And I love it so much. It's exciting, it's adrenaline fueled, the action sequences sound great on paper, so imagine how they'd look on screen. Like, I would love to see this brought to life. So moving away from series, as standalones go, I love this book so much. I actually didn't even realize it was standalone until I finished the book, and I was just gutted because I wanted more from this. If you like Percy Jackson, you will love lore, especially if you read Percy Jackson and you kind of wanted something a bit more mature. So imagine the gods in all their immortality and infinite power, like we're talking the Greek gods. Imagine if once every 7 years, 9 of them became human, right? They became mortal. And the descendants of ancient bloodlines were given a week to hunt them. And if you were able to kill one of these gods turned mortals while they were mortal, you would get their godly powers and their immortality. And you would ascend as a god at the end of the week of hunting. At least for the next 7 years, where you have to come down and be part of the hunt. That is the premise of lore, and it is amazing, okay? The whole book is this fast-paced, adrenaline-fueled adventure, where basically every day and night of the weekly hunt, or the Aegon as they call it in this, it brings different challenges. Now, our protagonist is forced to ally with people and gods that they didn't think they'd ally with. And their past is filled with all these secrets that are slowly revealed. There are some great character arcs, some wonderful inter-character relationships. Like during the Aegon, there are questions about who you can and can't trust with the stakes being so high. Plus, like the actual hunt itself, which gets sinister and really brutal at times. Honestly, if we're taking a one-off limited series with only like 7 episodes or something, this is exactly what I'd want. I love Lily Collins, okay, and Sam Claflin. And so when this book was being turned into a movie, I was over the moon. First because of the casting, and second because it's maybe one of my favorite books ever. Unlike the fantasy elements of the other books in this video, this is just a soppy little love story between 2 normal people. And I am a sucker for it, okay? So it follows 2 friends from the age of 5 all the way through their lives into like their 80s or something. For reference, the movie follows them from 16 to around 30, so you can see how much of the story they left out. But this book, it follows them through all stages of life, right? And what a commentary on life it is. I come back and I read it every 3 or 4 years, and it's wild reading it while I'm in different stages of life each time. Like, it tells their story as young kids, as teenagers, as young adults navigating twists and turns and unexpected circumstances that life throws at you. It tells the story of their relationship with each other and with their friends and their families. And then it tells their story through their 30s and their 40s, through them being pulled apart and losing touch and coming back together. It's frustrating, it's exciting, it's heartfelt, and it's raw. Like, it's such a slow burner, and there's so much will they, won't they going through the book. And honestly, it feels like maybe this is the best commentary on all different aspects of what real life looks like. It's not glamorized, it's just raw and real, and there are troubles, but then there are solutions and there's coming out the other end. Anyway, I want a limited series, right? Kind of like how Netflix gave us One Day. And maybe they will give us like a changing cast as they go through different stages of their life through the series. Kind of like how House of the Dragon did, right, in the first season. Like, I want an episode following them as young kids, another with them as teenagers, one that goes into their 20s, maybe like an episode per decade of their life or something, with new actors and actresses taking on the role when it's necessary because of how old they've gotten. Anyway, this book means so much to me, and I want an adaptation that does it justice. So back to sort of young adult fantasy series, Scythe is one of my all-time favorites. Imagine a world in which people didn't die. Like, naturally dying of old age doesn't happen. Diseases have been cured. You could literally live forever. But if everybody lived forever and carried on having children, you'd have the issue of resources, right? And overpopulation. So this book introduces the idea of scythes, people who are tasked with randomly killing a set number of people each year to simulate the randomness of natural death and to keep the population under control. Some people still get hundreds of years. They can turn the corner and reset their appearance to look like they did when they were 18. But the scythes are tasked with killing, or gleaning as they call it. They do that to people to keep society at a controllable level. But as you'd expect, that creates issues. The politics, the power dynamics, people playing God and deciding who lives and dies. Like, this book does an amazing job of making a living and breathing society based on that. So through the series, we follow 2 trainee scythes who are learning how gleaning works. And they end up going on 2 very different journeys, which is amazing to read side by side. And I imagine it would be great to see on screen and see how they contrast. This world is so expansive through the series. There are religions, there are governments, there are different political ideologies within the scythes who like butt heads with each other. And there's also this all-powerful AI called the Thunderhead who oversees and controls lots of things, right? Which feels very relevant to today's society. And I think that's why this would be a great show to make today, because it's so relevant, not only to the boom of AI and technology, but also to the tribalism of politics. It's another one with amazing character beats, but the character relationships in this kind of go in directions that you would never expect. The sequels as well have some amazing twists and side plots. They introduce other characters who are incredible. I just think all around this story would lend itself perfectly to a TV adaptation, and I desperately want to see it. And if you like hearing me talk about how books can be turned into TV adaptations, in this video I discuss the upcoming Harry Potter TV adaptation and how I think each season lends itself to the medium of TV.